Hey, what's up everyone? I wanted to make this video because there are a lot of misconceptions about the way lithium ion batteries work in general. And about 10 years ago, I discovered that lithium ion batteries don't need to be discharged fully to get the best battery life out of them. Maybe it was a little longer than that, I'm not sure. But it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I started to do some research because I started to suspect that there were some differences or some information that I hadn't yet fully understood about how lithium ion batteries worked in regards to getting the best out of your battery life. I had an older cell phone and it seemed like the battery just didn't last that long. So I wanted to know, am I doing anything wrong, or how does this work? How do I prolong my battery life? So a lot of people I see commenting within certain groups in Facebook, etc., about the Pixel 6's charging capacity and the time that it takes to charge the Pixel 6's battery. And being that I already knew and I'd already researched this information, I kind of had an idea about what was going on. So let me try to summarize this pretty quickly for you guys. So this is a community manager post about how charging works on the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro. So she states that regardless of available power coming from a wall plug, the actual power delivered through a full cycle charge varies over the course of a single charge. The charge rate at any moment is based on factors such as battery cell and system design, temperature, system usage, and state of charge. So in summary, the amount of charge is going to vary over the charge cycle, which we already know. What many people don't know is that this happens regardless of whether you have adaptive charge on it or not. Google's engineers have designed their system to prolong the battery as much as possible and to kind of achieve a balance between, fast charging, battery life in general, and some other things as well. And that's why the battery seems to charge randomly, even when you turn off adaptive battery. Let me read this to you. Pixel may also pause charging above 80%. So a lot of people I've seen complain, I left my phone in the charger all night long and it's still at 80%. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. This is what it does under certain conditions. It might be that your phone got too hot or something like that when it was trying to charge. It just says under certain conditions. And this is by design to prolong your battery life. So here's actually, I learned something here. And if you enable adaptive charging, Pixel can optimize charge rates for gradual overnight charging. Folks, this is all adaptive charging does. All this other stuff is separate from adaptive charging. Adaptive charging just charges your phone gradually up to your alarm time. That's it. The gradual charge up to, here it says Pixel 6 can get up to 50% in around 30 minutes. So 30 minutes, it gets 50%. And then another 30 minutes for a total of about an hour, it gets up to 80%, depending on device usage and temperature. So if it's actually doing something, backing up or something like that in the background, it's going to get warmer, so it's not going to be able to charge it as quickly. So this is all done to improve battery longevity. Let's see if there's anything else here. So, and this is not specific to the Pixel 6 lineup. All or most of the newer flagship devices, cell phones, do this. I know that Apple's has the adaptive charging. It will do the same thing as adaptive charging here and not charge your phone fully until it'll gradually charge it. So it's charged fully to 100% when you wake up. Samsung's, I believe, does something similar. And Samsung's, the S22, it might be on some of the other Samsung devices as well. But it has there's an option that you can choose to not charge the phone over 85%. So all of these phones are doing kind of their own thing based on the general principles of lithium ion batteries. Let me show you here. I'm going to try to summarize this pretty quickly, so hang in here. This is kind of interesting. So as a battery caregiver, you have choices to prolong battery life. Each battery system has unique needs in terms of charging speed, depth of discharge, loading, and adverse temperature. So each system is going to have different needs based on, say, for example, the ability to cool the battery, cool the system down. Because if you can cool the system down, you can probably charge it faster because it won't get too hot. So all of these things are taken into consideration in the modern cell phones, specifically the flagship devices that we're talking about. So in general, manufacturers have determined that the life of the lithium ion in most consumer products is between 300 and 500 discharge cycles. Now, this is full discharge. This is 100 to 0. So if they took lithium ion batteries and start them, charge them all the way to 100, took them to 0. Charge them all the way to 100, took it to 0. 300 to 500 times, battery was dead. So you get 300 to 500 full discharge cycles. So let me go down here and show you this chart here to make a long story short. So this chart here is the most valuable to you. So if you've made it this long, congratulations, smash the like button. So this chart illustrates a dynamic stress test. So what they did was they took the same battery and they discharged it under different to different levels. They took this line here, which is at the bottom. They discharge it from 100 to 25%, which is probably what most people do. And as you can see, charging it or discharging it from 100 to 25%, the battery died at about 4,500 of those cycles. This line up here at the top, they only discharged it from 75 to 65. So this one here, 100 to 25, 4,500, 75 to 65, which is only 10% of the battery. You probably, you're not getting a lot of battery usage out of it. You probably have to charge your phone like 10 times during the day or something like that to be able to achieve this. But like 8,500 of those cycles it was able to achieve. So the lower it's called depth of discharge, which is how much percentage you're dropping in total before you start charging it again. So the greater the depth of discharge, the more wear you're putting on your battery. And this is shown here in this chart and in this graph here. So this chart also shows that you're not only able to prolong your battery's life, you're also able to prolong the capacity retention by reducing the depth of discharge. For example, if your depth of discharge is from 100 to 25%, you can see that the battery's capacity percentage decreases much more rapidly than if you had the other extreme value of from 75 to 65%. And I think that happy medium comes somewhere in between the 75 to 45 or even 75 to 25%. So over time, you can see that the battery's capacity is between 90 and 95% of its original capacity when it was brand new. Whereas here, you see it drops quickly into the 80 to 85 and eventually much lower into the 75% range before it completely dies. So if you can reduce the depth of discharge, then you can prolong your battery life. So I took this information and I changed my battery charging behavior, I guess you could say. And I used to charge my batteries at night. I'd wake up in the morning and use my phone and then plug it in at night, and hopefully, it didn't get too low. If it got really low because of extended use or whatever, I'd plug it in a little bit, give it a little bit of a boost. But now what I've done is I charge in the mornings while I'm getting ready for work. It takes me about 30 minutes or whatever, which is plenty enough to get me up to about 70 or 80%. And then I charge again in the evenings when I'm cooking dinner or something like that. Now during the weekends, I might boost it up a little bit again because I'm doing more video recording and pictures, etc., etc. So the biggest things to remember: one, don't get battery anxiety from this. This is not meant to do that. This is just meant to give you some more information where you can come up with a little bit of a better battery charging behavior to prolong your battery life. Two, don't let your battery fully discharge. Do your best to try to keep that battery between, I would say, 85 and 20%. Let that be your kind of maximums there. Unless you're going on an extended trip or you're going to be shooting a lot of video, then you can go ahead and charge it all the way up to 100% and don't stress out about it. But in general, the lower your depth of discharge, the more or the longer your battery will last. So I hope you found this information useful, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.